People say that Jesus wasn't called God till centuries later. There's just one problem with that. Around 107 AD, a church leader named Ignatius wrote a series of letters while being taken to Rome for execution. Ignatius wasn't just any Christian. He personally knew the apostles and was closely connected to their generation. Now listen to his words. In his letters, Ignatius repeatedly refers to Jesus as our God. This was written nearly 200 years before the Council of Nicaea, long before Christianity became the religion of the Roman Empire. The belief that Jesus is God wasn't invented later. It was already being confessed by the generations closest to the apostles. Is someone this close to the apostles called Jesus God? What does that say about the earliest churches? One of the biggest misunderstandings of the Bible is thinking it's trying to tell everyone else's story. It's not. The Bible doesn't claim God revealed himself equally to every nation. Instead, it follows a specific line of people, from Abraham to Israel, through whom God chose to work. Meanwhile, other civilizations were living their own history, building cities, fighting wars, writing records. And that's exactly what we'd expect. The existence of Egypt or Sumer doesn't compete with the Bible. The Bible places itself inside that world. It's not borrowed history. It's a different perspective on the same history. The story of the people who encountered the Creator of all things. Do you think most critics misunderstand what the Bible is actually describing? People say the book of Esther is just a Jewish story. Then archaeology uncovered her world. Excavations at the ancient Persia capital of Susa have revealed a royal palace matching the setting described in Esther. Archaeologists have also uncovered details about Persian government, royal banquet, and court customs that closely align with the biblical account. But here's what really surprised historians. The more archaeologists uncover about ancient Persia, the more the Book of Esther fits its historical setting. Archaeology doesn't prove every conversation in the book happened, but it continues to confirm that Esther unfolds in a real empire with real kings, real places, and real customs. History doesn't replace the Bible. It keeps uncovering its world. What biblical book do you think archaeologists has uncovered the most of? Some people say that Israel is a modern invention. History says otherwise. More than 3,200 years ago, an Egyptian pharaoh carved the name Israel into the stone. Not as legend, not as myth, as a real people living in Canaan. And here's the irony. The inscription boasts that Israel is laid waste. But history tells a different story. Israel survived. Its name appears again and again across archaeology and ancient records. The oldest mention of Israel wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of the evidence. Were you surprised that the oldest mention of Israel came from Egypt? Imagine finding a city covered with sulfur and asking one question. Researchers studying an ancient site near the Dead Sea have documented unusual sulfur deposits and evidence of a catastrophic destruction. Some even suggest it matches the Bible's account of Sodom. Others believe the evidence points somewhere else. That's why this discovery matters. For the debate to exist at all, everyone agrees on one thing. A real city experienced a devastating destruction. The mystery is whether we found the city Genesis describes. Sometimes archaeology doesn't solve the mystery, but it narrows the search. What kind of evidence would convince you that this was the biblical city of Genesis? The prophet who gave some of the Bible's clearest prophecies about the Messiah may have left something behind. Near Jerusalem, archaeologists uncovered a tiny clay seal impression bearing the name Isaiah. Even more intriguing, it was discovered just feet away from a seal belonging to the king Hezekiah, the same king Isaiah advised in scripture. So was it really his? Well, the final letters on the seal are damaged, so archaeologists continue to debate whether it belonged to Isaiah the prophet or another man with the same name. But they do have some of the same letters as Navi, which means prophet. But one thing is undeniable. The discovery places us in the real world of Isaiah and Hezekiah, a world where the people, kings, and events of the Bible continue to leave traces in the ground. Sometimes the strongest questions come from the smallest discoveries. If future discoveries confirm that this was Isaiah's seal, how would that change the way that you look at biblical prophecy? What if I told you that the Tower of Babel was rebuilt? Centuries after Genesis, King Nebuchadnezzar recorded rebuilding Babylon's greatest tower. His own inscription describes restoring a massive structure that had fallen into ruins. The tower stood in the heart of Babylon. Now think about that. The Bible's place for the Tower of Babel in Babylon. Archaeology has uncovered the city, its greatest ziggurat, and the records of a king determined to restore it. Whether Etaminike was the exact Tower of Genesis is still debated. But Babylon's Great Tower wasn't a legend. It was real. Would you visit the ruins of ancient Babylon if you had the chance? How can the same archaeological site lead to two very different conclusions? At Avaris in Egypt, archaeologists uncovered a city filled with Semitic homes, unusual burials, and evidence that foreigners rose to positions of influence. Some scholars see the Hyksos. Others see details that echo the biblical story of Joseph and the Israelites. So, what's the real debate? The discoveries themselves aren't the controversy. The interpretation is. Everyone agrees the evidence is there. The question is, what story best explains it? Sometimes archaeology doesn't create doubt. It forces us to ask a better question. What explanation do you think fits the evidence best? Critics ask, how could there be light before the sun? I've always thought that was a strange question, because Genesis never says the sun created light. It says God does. The sun is simply one of the things God later appointed to govern the day. Think about the assumption being made. The objection only works if God depends on the sun to do what the sun does. But Genesis presents God as the source of everything, including the laws that make stars shine in the first place. Do you think people sometimes criticize the Bible without understanding what it actually says? What if two words carved in stone changed one of the biggest arguments against the Bible? For years, people claimed King David never existed. Then, archaeologists uncovered the Tel Dan Stela. It wasn't written by Israel. It wasn't written by believers. It was written by an enemy king, and carved into the stone were two shocking words: House of David. That's the first known historical reference to David's dynasty outside the Bible. History doesn't always speak loudly. Sometimes it speaks through two words carved in stone.